Hello and welcome everyone to today's revolutionary conversation. My name is Jules Hare, and I'm joined by my beloved collaborator, Janel Willette. Mm. Today, I am so grateful to be joining with Janel on what I can feel in my bones to be a revolutionary conversation like no other. Today, we are discussing whatever shows up, really, but perception, how we perceive things, as well as uh, how we have a tendency to want to be right versus actually getting things right or trusting in the rightness of the divine, and how that moves through us in our own golden purpose and our own golden potential, and how we weave that into the world. So, Janelle, I'm so happy to be here with you today and with everybody who's joining us. Let's jump in.
Yes, thank you. This is a real hot topic. And I think what's so interesting about it is because it's often overlooked. It's easy not to ask the questions for which you don't really want to know the answer to. It's so interesting, that tricky little edge, that precipice that we're on, each of us in our own way, more than maybe ever before. And that precipice is really requesting and demanding choice, more important choices maybe than ever before. And so it's so key to know the trajectory upon which we're sailing the oceans, the winds, and the world. And what it really boils down to, that one landscape within us, where our trajectory is, where our center is. Does that center want to be right? Or does that center, that black box inside of you, want to get it right? And that choice that dwells in you sets sail a whole cascade of effects and effects. And so many people are attentioning what's going on out there, the things that we can't control, the things that we like, that we want to maybe control or contrive or cajole to make sure we keep getting things right, to preserve this illusion that we have control. However, there is that choice to shift the sail, to say, you know what? The bottom line is, I want to get it right. And I remember the day, the moment when I tacked the great oceans and I looked at the sun and the stars and began to sail in an orientation that was different than wanting to be right. Not that it has to be 100% of the time, but my orientation changed. And then when the orientation wasn't on, when I was in alignment with the forces of nature, the forces of life, in alignment with the force of love, of good, then I noticed, oh, adjustment needed. And I began to realize the power and the intelligence of the universe that truly conspired to support me and the evolution of not just me, but humanity as a whole. And so today we want to have a conversation to bring alive, and maybe this is a catalyst to look inside yourself and find out how your settings are inside of you. And if previously you have wanted to get it right, really, are you sure you still want that? And how's that feeling and looking in your life? Is it working for you? And if it's not, it might be worth a little contemplation. Because it was those moments in my life I looked and I go, I could put this on someone else and blame it or create a narrative or a story, or I could take it on and be responsible for all of it and shift. And that was a choice moment for me.
Thank you for sharing that beautiful analogy of being on the ocean as well, Janelle, like that, like the navigational, our own inner navigational system. Everybody calls it something different, but the idea of having that inner compass and that we get to choose. We always have free will. And Janelle and I have talked about this all the time. Like this will, you have your free will to choose whichever direction you want to choose. That is one of the great gifts of being human. The difference of being able to choose from a place of that depth of navigation, of having your inner navigational system turned on and aligned to the will of the divine navigational system. That, when we do that, we feel connected, we feel supported, we feel not alone. We remember, and we remember we're a part of everything. And that is something that so many of us are challenged right now, especially right now. Everything's changing so much right now. And that all of the things that we've been trying to do right or be right about are coming to the forefront. Like you said, Janelle, all of the control, and I want things to be this way, and I want, this has to be like this, or else this won't happen. And no, this has to stay the same. Our tendency to want to focus on everything outside of ourselves, to use our perceptual awareness to focus outside instead of inside, is decreasing our ability to slow down and trust in our own navigational systems. And, myself included, we're all humans. We're all on this journey together. We're all going through this huge evolutionary process as we speak right now together. We're all on different levels of it, but it still all together. And just this morning, I was like, I got in my car, went to turn on my radio, and I was like, oh, Jules, you're on autopilot. Do you really want to be on autopilot right now? What's really wanting your attention? And I was like, oh, right. And this has been catching my attention a lot lately, way more than ever before, because like you said, Janelle, those little tiny choices, if we are just going on our default, we're just going on autopilot, all of those little tiny choices, yes, they're easy, right? Way more efficient for the brain to just do what you've always done. But that's not what's being called for right now. We're being asked to make choices that are in alignment with our own navigational system, connected to the big navigational system. We don't need to be right anymore. We're doing it right for the divine. That, and not righteousness, not all of the ego ways that we've described right, but because it feels right in our entire being to do it, versus we've been programmed to say or to feel or to think that this is right.
And there's a little catchphrase that I always ask myself to bring me back to center. And that is, what's truly true and really real? What's truly true and really real? And just simply asking that question to myself brings me back. And the more that we do these ways, I call them tools and jewels, ways to use the tools, they give us a presence and a change and a shift so quickly when we just slow down and remember to remember. We have a choice, and that choice makes a big difference because it sets off a whole cascade of effects and effects. And so, in some wild way, there's this paradoxical shift because you actually have not control, but you have more influence. Influence. Because that energy, when you come back to that center of what's truly true and really real, you then set off a whole cascade of energy, vibration, and frequency that allows the universe to work in favor of the good you're making room for. Because in some wild way, when we make a decision to be right, or we go, you know what, I'm just going to blame that, blame fate, blame this, or have a narrative, you punctuate that, and that becomes a dead end for the self. Because in some way, it cuts us off from our own evolution. So whenever we're blaming or we're putting it off on something else, we're shutting ourselves off from our own evolutionary trajectory. And so that moment where you regain perspective about what's really going on here, you realize how much influence and control you really have, but in a different way.
Ah, I love, I love what catalyzed, as you said that, Janelle, that you use the word slow, like when you slow down, right? That like, it's like we're road runners, right? We're constantly, and myself, I watch this in other people as well, and maybe this resonates with you watching as well, that we're in default mode, we're in autopilot, and we can do things really fast in autopilot. But when we're in autopilot, we never slow down to actually open up to the choice, the fact we have a choice. And each and every moment, we have a choice. But if we're running so fast and just operating on all systems the way they've always operated before,
Yeah.
access to be able to tune in that inner compass, to be able to go, wait a second, I do have a choice here. Is this really what I need to be doing right now? Oh, right. It's like the roadrunner slows down and you actually see its legs. And its legs can actually like plant into the ground. Or as I often use the analogy of water, when water comes too fast, even when there's conditions that really, really require water, when that water drops too fast, so hard to rain, everyone says, oh, we got the rain we wanted. It's like, actually, that rain came too hard and too fast, so much so that it didn't permeate through the soil. It just ran off. So even though there was a lot of water, there was a lot of information, there was a lot of knowledge, it didn't slow down enough to percolate through the surface.
Yeah.
And that's us not being able to take the time to remember we can make the choice, and that choice can be aligned with what really feels real and true for us
Yeah.
instead of the programming. And that's the power here. And I love what you're bringing to the surface, Janelle. I
Yeah.
know
And
you've got some.
a great point that I've realized for myself is not just what I do, but how I do what I do. And I used to be a professional doer. How many things could I get done? And like for maybe the first 10 seconds after it's finished, I'm like, yeah. And then I come home to myself, and do I really feel like I've had a well-lived day? And exactly as you said, did I feel the contentment and the fulfillment of the effect and effect that I had? Was I connecting with people? Did they feel my presence? Did I reach out, and did they connect with me and I connect with them?
Did they
How
feel
many
seen? Yeah.
times did I make eye contact where I felt like we all belonged here? And just about 10 days ago, I got stopped in my own tracks. And I go, Janelle, you're not paying attention to people around you. Every single person, every single person who comes in your sphere, in your day, is there for a reason. And so I have been on this quest of noticing people, seemingly strangers that I've never noticed, or if they don't seemingly catch my eye for whatever reason, because I don't feel resonance, I've created a new muscle, noticing and connecting in some way, whether it's a word or a few sentences of connecting. And I've been so surprised by the beauty of that person that's hiding behind whatever costume my eyes saw. And I'm going, Janelle, stop being fooled by your eyes and by your own agenda and your own set of plan of action. Slow down and watch all these people around you are jewels. They're gems. They're beautiful people and they're here for a reason. And guess what? If I don't connect with them, I don't have another shot. They may not pass me by again. What have I lost? And in that, there have been three profound synchronicities that have proliferated through my life and given me avenues and channels for which I didn't even know I needed. I got out of my way, I slowed down, and I changed my trajectory so subtly. And it really humbled me to really come back and remember that I never want to stop growing, evolving, and becoming more of the presence of that which I truly am. So life never stops. In a way, it actually continues to awaken and become more alive in the sphere of humanity. You know, I like to say that since the end of my 10-year career as a world-class athlete, where there was always a finish line or a goal that had a finite, definite place. And after my last finish line, I said, now I'm about starting lines, but not finish lines. We don't want finish lines. We want to just continue, because if we're making the decision about being right and the journey of growth and evolution, there are the chapters, the subsequent chapters. Let's live for new beginnings that don't have finish lines, because then the quality and the essence and the contents, the ingredients of your life are so well chosen that you don't want it to end. And you're such in alignment with creation that that vibration of love, the vibration of interconnectedness, has room to do its intelligence.
Mm. With that, Janelle, it feels like an invitation And in that invitation, I invite everyone who is listening, watching this, to tune into the part of themselves, the part of each and every one of us. We all have one. It wants to get it right. It wants to be right. We all have that part. And just notice how that part of us that wants to be right, when you bring your full awareness, when you bring your attention to it, with curiosity, compassion, just see it. See it for everything that it wants you to notice about it. Feel into the presence with it. Without judgment or expectation, just letting yourself be there to acknowledge that part of yourself fully and completely. And notice how you feel different having seen that, having witnessed it, having let yourself be fully present with it without any judgment. And just taking a couple of nice big deep breaths.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you might begin to recognize that this habit, wanting to be right, comes from old programming. And actually, it comes from something of fear-based energy. And what is the antidote of fear? Something so simple. It's love. And so at any given moment, you notice this propensity. You have a choice to remember to remember. So here it is. Here's this piece. I don't like to face, I don't like to feel uncomfortable or the void or whatever that is, or being called out. And that feeling that you want to avoid, so then you want to be right. But if you just take a pause and you put that in your hand, and you know that on the other hand, there's love, and you bring them together and you neutralize that.
I love that.
Love is always the antidote. How simple it is, right? How simple it is. Truth is not complex. Love is not complex.
In fact, it's so simple and so ever present that we forget how easy it is because we've made things so complex. And I know you've experienced it as well, Janelle. I have as well. Hundreds, maybe thousands of hours of being able to hold space for others. When this love is able to meet the old programming, that which is obsolete, that which is ready to be seen and heard and acknowledged and reclaimed for its new potential to do something bigger and even more powerful for all of humanity, not just for ourselves, but in full and depth of connection within ourselves for all of us. That's when the magic happens. And that's
It
when
can't help itself.
it can't help but grow. We're constantly growing right from that point on.
The
We're
natural
not holding
nature of
ourselves
life.
back. Yes, yes. And that depth of presence, slowing down and being present, is the gold that starts all of that beautiful chain of reaction into that expansion. And we need to contract. It's important. We also need to expand.
Beauty is in the balance. Beauty is in the balance. So if we can just remember, it's all beautiful. It's all beautiful. Let
And
it be beautiful. And you can begin to feel a proactive energy versus a reactive energy. Just find the antidote and love it up.
yes, and that is the inspiration for both Janelle and I when we get passionate and excited. It's about being able to invite people into their own truth of their own being at a level that they know they're capable of. You know you're capable of it. We know we have this capacity inside of us. We don't know how to fully activate it, to allow it to get to that point of gold, to get from base camp to the summit. So many of you have done so much work in so many ways, whether it be your career or your family, your ability to contribute in the world in whatever way that has felt right for you. We all have our own gifts, and we'll not ever pretend that anyone is the same as anyone else's because they're all unique. But when we get to that level where we go, we know there's more. I can feel it in my entire being. There's more. But how do I get to that next step? How do I take that everything that I know to be true and real and actually cultivate it to that next point of reaching the golden summit? And that's what Janelle and I just love uh, to know that we have the capacity to do that for people, with people, to grow together into that.
And it's exactly that impetus, because when we allow that to have its life in us, it unfurls something, an impetus. And that's exactly how Revolutionary Leadership Academy was born.
Literally, that's exactly how it was born.
That's how it was born. And so it has so much power and purity and potential. And because it's so alive and dynamic and full of possibilities, and it's an all-inclusive paradigm, meaning that we're all in this together. And it's a catalyst and an incubation station to bring that purpose and bring the power that's deep inside of you, to bring it alive. So that whether you've had 3 businesses or have been a serial entrepreneur, or you've always worked for someone else, or you've been devoting your life to being a mother, or you've worked just to make money, hating your job, now might be your moment to begin to harness and master your mind such that your soul and your heart can unfurl the golden jewels, the seeds that want to come alive and flourish from your heart and your soul. And this is the alchemy that Jules and I are so passionate about, so
Because
that
we feel it.
everyone can have this opportunity.
Yes. And we know that we are all capable of this. And as we do it together, as we make those choices that we've talked about today, and we align them with our own inner navigational system, and we tune ourselves in and tune ourselves up for what we're truly capable of. And we do it not alone, but when we do it together, that's when we weave, just like the forest floor. That's when we weave our beautiful golden roots, those threads, not just into the ground, but into one another's fertile ground for this beautiful growth that we're creating. Nothing will ever be the same again. And Janelle and I have had so many conversations about how this interconnection and this weaving And this growth that goes both up and into the roots is going to change the way that the world economy, the world politics, everything within the world is shifted from this, because you're shifting from the inside out, and we're all doing it together. I know you can feel that in your body as well. So please take this opportunity to breathe that in. How does that feel for you?
It's truly true and really real.
Hmm. And with that, the invitation to reach out to us. If this speaks to you, to your soul, to your being, to your passion in life,
Your
to your
curiosity.
yes. Reach out to us. We are here to listen. We're here to play. We are here to connect. We're here
Collaborate and create.
together. Okay, with that,
Yes.
welcome to the revolution. I'm looking forward to connecting with you again. Much love to you, Sister Janelle.
Blessings.
Much love, everyone. We'll see you next time.